I forgot about that 40 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it won't, because I was just thinking now, it won't let me piggyback meetings in Zoom unless I use two different accounts. So that is one way we can do it. Like, we
Yeah.
just bounce two rooms if we want to make it longer. Or I think once the meeting's over, I think you could schedule another meeting. I just don't know how. It won't let me overlap the times. So there would be like almost like a 15-minute, I guess, or a couple minute intermission. I don't know, bathroom break or something, I guess.
Okay.
Everyone else get the code, I think.
They should have. It's in the room. The only one that didn't get it was Jay, and I'm sending that to him right now.
Oh, okay. Is he not on the group text?
No.
Oh, okay.
And
Here we go.
honestly, I don't know how to add him without deleting everybody and starting over.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that either. I know there's a way to do that. When you start a group chat, I know that if you're the owner of that chat, there's a way to add people. I just don't know how to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Who's trying to get added?
I was trying to add Jay to the chat on the text messages because I'm having to text him separately.
Oh, well, did you copy paste what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I've been doing is copy pasting and sending it to him.
Yeah, there we go. We got him.
We got him.
Yeah. So, I mean, we could figure something out give me time to figure that out. I'll figure something out where we could, either we bounce off of two different accounts or I'll see if I can run two meetings. Cause we're probably going to need more than 40 minutes. I think we're going to at least need an hour,
Yeah.
And
I think we
then,
need more than an hour.
well, yeah. So
the way we talk.
Yeah. So we could do 2 40-minute sessions and I'll just have to figure out how to piggyback them so that we basically end the session and then just maybe take like a 5-minute break and then, just sign back on. I'm going to try to see if I could use the same code. But I haven't worked I normally Zoom is automatic. Whenever any meeting was ever set up for me, it was always automatic, right? You just click on a link and boom, you just go in, and we didn't have constraints to 40 minutes. So it was like, I ain't paying that money. I ain't paying that. All right. Well, I can still hear you. Talk amongst yourselves. I got to go refuel.
Okay.
Okay. I got the questions. All right. So when do you think the climax happened for the original?
What was the climax?
Like, where do you feel the climax may have started before it actually got to the main climax? Like, where do you think it was the first indication?
Oh, when pretty much the peak of it?
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, not the peak, but the first inclination that you knew like something was just about to build up and it was going to get worse.
Oh, well, some people could argue it's the part when the trees raped the Cheryl. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that was pretty early in the movie, but okay, you knew something bad was going to happen after that. It's a it's a tree, It's like, all right.
I gotta say, the way that tree came in, it was like, dude, did you break her pubis? Like, what is going on? But for me, it was when they were all around the open door, when it just flung open. It was like,
to the cellar?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I want to say for me the peak was the tape recording of Dr. Nobi reading reading the incantations from the Necronomicon. To me, that was the peak.
I'm like, I feel like there's, okay, well, I don't know. I'm trying to go stepping stones. All right. So peak, I wouldn't put that as peak. What would I put as peak? I don't know. maybe like, shut up. Maybe when who was it? Was it Shelley who just rose up in the air and just was flying around and words were coming out of her mouth and she wasn't speaking? Was it Shelley? No,
Oh,
No,
it was his sister, Cheryl.
yeah,
Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, why her lips not moving? I was like, what's going on? So there I was just like, okay, now that could be like the peak as far as I'm concerned. But I feel like one of the stepping stones to gradually get you up there was that recording. It was like, okay, you know something bad is coming after this. And then and I feel like the next stepping stone was when Cheryl was just flying around the air like, hey, what's up? And, you know, I'm like, I'm gonna get you guys. And then yeah. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know what
If you mean the point at which, like the point of no return, when everything hits the fan. If you're talking like this is that moment where it's all downhill from now. Like we had the build up, and now we've reached that. You know, here's the build up, the build up, the build up, the build up, and then boom, like
right.
we're
I
okay.
was like, it was hard for me to
want-
decipher where that main peak was really.
Okay, well then for me, I'm gonna take that back. It wasn't the tape recording. The build up was everything prior to the cards. When she's like, oh, what was it? Jack of spades, king of diamonds, eight of hearts, and when she just starts spitting out the cards before she's even being able to flip them, it was like, okay, here's the build up, and then here's the pitch, and then from there everything is bananas. Like there is no more normal.
Okay. Anybody else got questions? I have tons of questions. You want me to keep going?
Well, that's a good point on the cards thing. I'm just like looking at that timestamp. It was around 35, by the way. So yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that was the pencil one. Oh,
Ooh,
that was a great stab, wasn't it? It was great.
An awesome stab moment.
And that's what gets me. I love the special effects from back in the day. I know I keep saying it, but I love the special effects because it was so creative. And you had to think on your feet and you had to make it, even if it didn't look real, who cared? It gave the effect that you wanted. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you had more respect for the film because it did go that route, you know?
I forgot how much I didn't realize from watching it again, like I was like, wow, towards the end of the movie, I mean, there's a lot of gore. And it surprised me how much was in it because I don't remember that much of it in it. And then I'm watching all these special effects. I'm like, holy cow, I didn't, like just the up close with the, the decay and the maggots and stuff. I'm like, I don't remember that being in but wow, and it was done really well. I mean, it looked like melting clay, but
but I thought that was so cool. It's like those bath bombs that fizzle out. I'm like, yeah. All right. Well, what did you think about the music for the first one? Did it go
awesome.
well? It was okay.
Well, that was that was one of my main points that I got from watching the whole thing. Cause I didn't really write notes. I wrote notes throughout it for the most part, but I did almost like a reflection at the end. And for me, and I've been talking about this a lot with other movies with my wife and just other friends, but you don't realize how much music affects the sound effects and the music affects the movie. I mean, Jaws, like you had mentioned before, Rob, with the shark in the water and stuff like that. The story itself is scary, sharks in water, but it's that music
Yes.
You hear that music and something's gonna happen. And in Evil Dead, like the subtleties of like you hear a tree branch,
Right.
and some
Right.
leaves in the background, but you don't see anything. You see a little bit of smoke, and it's just the nothingness that's out there. You're trying to figure out, well, okay, what's going on? Where is it going to come from? You're trying to figure that out. Where is it coming from? Like, when's this gotcha moment going to happen? And then
Yeah.
it doesn't happen. Then the camera starts to jiggle, that whole guerrilla film photography stuff, and you're like, what the hell's going on? But
Yeah.
I can't believe it didn't scare you. Like, I remember Evil Dead growing up being scary. I remember watching it at Poppy's house, and we're like, all of us kids are up there. We're like, we're like 9, I think. We're like really young, and they're like, all right,
Yeah.
VHS, and they're like, here, watch Evil Dead, and I'm like, what? I'm like, huh? I just remember
I
being,
mean, it was just as funny to me as The Exorcist was. I was like, The Exorcist made me laugh, but I was just like,
Yeah.
really?
yeah. But
I couldn't.
it's I think for me though, the music in both movies was done very well. Was done very well.
I don't know.
You know, did you not think it was as good?
Not for the second one. I felt like, I don't know. It just felt so disconnected in so many ways that I'm like, the music just didn't work for me because it
The
was.
music
I know
or the
what I
sound
know what it was
effects?
supposed to do, but it didn't do it for me because I didn't feel like there was much connection between everybody. Like it took a while for me to be like, okay, I know that. Did he say that was his girlfriend? And she's off in the background for like 45 minutes of the movie, not saying a thing. And I'm all like, what's the point of you being there?
Oh, okay.
So, I mean, there was just, everybody just felt disconnected. Scott's in one room looking at the book. What's old girl's name?
Well, but back up to, I thought the premise, or I thought the storyline in the remake, oddly enough, because I mean I'm an OG guy, but the remake did a really good job setting the storyline to make sense. Like the first one, here's what I mean. The first
Mhm.
one, they're going out to the cabin, they're gonna just have a good time, hang out, and and there's perfectly innocent, right? But as soon as stuff starts going, a little goofy, they don't think to leave. Like if you're just up there just hanging out and stuff starts to look a little goofy, like I'm out. In the real world, I'm out. But in the second movie, or in the reboot, they set it up that they're there to rehabilitate a drug user, right?
Mhm.
So they gave a reason to stay. Like, cause when you start
It's a
seeing crazy stuff, it's like you're out. But
Yeah.
they're like, we have to do this because she's going to go through withdrawal. She's going to have hell for the next 3 to whatever, 5
Yeah.
days. And we're going to hear a lot of weird things coming from her. So it throws the audience off because we're like, oh, okay, well, they're going to hear weird stuff from her. So the assumption is they got to push past that, right?
Yeah. It forced
It forced them
the
to
rest
stay.
of the characters to stay in that scenario where the 83 version of Evil Dead, I shouldn't say version. I'm still stuck on the sequel. I'm still stuck on it that it's a
The
sequel
original.
and not a remake.
Which I would agree. I did have to read up on that. I honestly don't think it's a reboot. I think it's more of a continuation of that spirit. And this is
Yeah.
just,
Okay, well, let me ask you like I asked Kia. I said, okay, and you can say chime in too, Kia. All right, so the beginning. What was the point of the beginning? And in conjunction with that, when Scott and what's his name, Eric, went down, was it Scott and Eric? I don't remember, but
Yeah,
they went
David
downstairs.
and Eric are
David,
in the
yeah.
sequel.
They went downstairs to the cellar,
Mm-hmm.
and the first thing he says, I smell burnt hair. So my question was like, how long did that previous event in the beginning happen between then and when they were there? Because if you're still smelling burnt hair, that had to be pretty recent. And then there was that scene where they were walking towards the door, the trap door for the cellar. but it looked like somebody was underneath and moving around under there.
Yeah, I want to say it probably happened within a day or two. Because the blood still had a red coloring to it when they pulled the carpet. Grandpa smelled it, and David goes to Grandpa, pulls the carpet up. Even though the blood was blackened, it still had some red coloring to it. So, the fact that they didn't smell the blood yet means that it wasn't fresh enough to smell copper in the air, but it wasn't old enough that they could smell what do you want to call it, the decay.
Decay.
Yeah.
The rotten
So
slippage.
and it wasn't until they opened that door that they really smelled the cats, and the burnt hair, not until they got down there. So I want to say it happened within a day or two, like that was that close, like it was that recent.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think obviously it's it stands to reason that from what I thought I read something somewhere that this takes place like 5 years from the events of the original one. Does that sound about right?
It should be 30.
30 years? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it should be a
Uh,
30
I was like,
year
yeah, because
gap.
they weren't in 70s attire or 80s
So-
attire.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. That's right. Okay. So, well, I mean, not I'm talking like in the move, because I mean, obviously there was callbacks, right? You saw Ash's car.
Right.
Yes,
You
I
you
loved
saw
it.
You see
a
the Delta
couple.
88 sitting back there.
Yeah, so I think that, yeah, I guess that part with the beginning part did kind of, that surprised me. That was weird. Because I was expecting it to be kind of a reboot. And I was expecting it to be a full reboot. Like we're just going to see the same similar scenario acted out where Ash is going to be portrayed by this girl, or not the girl, but that there's no Ash. They're just a group of kids that are, going through the events. But I thought that the beginning allowed us to understand that there is a demon presence. I think that's why it kicked it off the way it did, was to explain that there's a demon presence still there, and this family wanted to obviously eliminate it, right?
Yeah.
And we're just seeing that, so it kind of sets the. I mean, that's not too uncommon for most modern day movies, where they kind of show you a little bit of the end, or kind of give you a precursor of what's going on. Doesn't leave much to the imagination. So I will say that 2013 didn't really leave. You knew what was going to happen, right? Like in the first
Yeah.
Evil Dead, you didn't know. I mean, they
Yeah.
just felt creeped out by the woods, and they're like, oh, what's going on? You saw cameras moving here and there, but you really never know what it was until the tape, and the Book of the Dead, but yeah, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I think in 2013, within the first 4 to 6 minutes, I can't remember the minute marker, but he lights the match, and the daughter's just like, I'll kill you for that, daddy. Like, the demonic possession immediately takes place, and from that point there's no question what you're watching.
Yeah.
No question what you're watching, but it was also like, where do you fit into the story and why was it necessary? I felt like it was just a filler for that initial or original drive scene when they were all interacting in the car. You know what I mean? I just felt like it was just a scene filler for the gap, where like you're drawn into the cabin with the mist and following it. You know what I mean? So that's where it started. But also, quick question. Does anybody understand why they didn't know there was a cellar and all that stuff there? Because when Grandpa comes over and she's petting Grandpa, she's all like, yeah, you loved it every time we came out here.
Yeah, that's another thing. The Maya and David, they did make reference to them being at that cabin as kids.
As kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So if they're in college Okay, they're in college because they're wearing the Michigan State sweater, which what's her name is wearing in the first Evil Dead. Shelly.
Shelly, yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Shelly's wearing the Michigan State sweater. So they're in college, and I think, or they just got out of college, so they're right in that 20s, right? They're right in their 20s. Yes, she did make reference to her and David and Grandpa being there as kids, going to that cabin. So how did they not know that there was a cellar?
Right?
That's one of the things
Yeah, but I wouldn't get hung up on that.
well, that's one of the things that
It's a prominent point.
yeah, I mean,
But think about it from a kid standpoint. Like, sellers aren't like they're not the most appealing thing to kids, right? So as a kid, they may have known about the seller, right? But you would have forgotten that because that wasn't a place like you went and hung out, right? And you kind of dismiss it as something to remember. You might remember the dog, you might remember maybe the exterior of the cabin, but you're or the way the fireplace burned wood or something, but you might not remember that stuff if they're in their 20s, so it's a little bit, I don't know, I guess there's a little bit of latitude there because you're assuming that because they were there as kids, they had their way around every place of that cabin and they knew everything and they retained it.
yeah, that's true.
So
That's-
I remember my
remember-
basement and I didn't like going down there. I still remember that. That's the reason why I remember it, because it was like, go downstairs and go get this. I don't want to go. But
right, but you remember it being scary, but you might not remember what was down there.
I remember everything that was down there. I can tell
Okay.
you right now.
Well, see, like,
He's like, no, it haunted my
I
dream.
remember 18.
I'm still dealing with it now.
My therapist said I need to get past these things.
Like,
Alright.
no, can't.
Yeah. I put down what bothered me the most was like Eric, and he's an idiot. Like, I'm just, like, it's
Wait.
one thing in the first one, they play a tape, right? It sounds
Mhm.
creepy. The girls are like, I don't like this. Let's stop playing it, right? And the guy's like,
Yeah.
it's not a big deal. And that's believable. Okay, you want to hear a tape, someone, you don't know much about the cabin, you're
Yes.
curious, right?
Scare the girls. Yeah.
Yeah, it flows very well. In the 2013 version, like Eric's like reading it with almost like an obsession, like, just curious.
An immediate obsession. Yeah.
Yeah. And it
Right,
looks
went off into a room by himself and everything.
yeah. And the thing's covered, like, okay, even if you didn't know it was human flesh, or even if you didn't know that, the book does not look appealing at all. Like, I don't know. It's just, even if you're a curious and oddly weird person, and then he's like, he breaks out the paper and he's like doing the little,
The
charcoal stick, whatever.
the charcoal scrub.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, who does that?
Yeah, who
Like,
does
Right,
that?
and why would you just figure it was right there?
yeah.
Like,
You
There
know?
it is.
And
Yeah.
then the other thing, it was like a self-help guide, just
Yeah.
like every page was like, don't do this. Do this. I was like, man,
Yeah.
you think they took so much away from that, 'Cause
Yeah.
in the other one in the original, like the Book of the Dead was like, what, this big?
Yeah.
I was like, what is this? I forgot how small it was. I was like, oh my gosh.
yeah.
Yeah.
It
But
was
I
more
also
of
thought
a-
when they went to see the
know.
book, when they went downstairs, they were like, the book. And I was like, out of everything there, I was like, there is other stuff there. There's a shotgun. The first thing you're talking about, hey, look, it's a book.
fucking Eric and his books.
I know. He busts out the clippers. He's cutting the wires. I'm like, okay, something's not right about this. Just leave it alone.
Yeah.
But
I'm surprised it didn't get cut.
I mean, not only was it wrapped in barbed wire, but it was in a black garbage bag.
It probably was like 3 or 4 of them.
You didn't even know it was a book to begin with. It could have been liver and lungs, and he there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take this upstairs and open it up. Like yeah, there was
Bomb. Who knows? You know, it could have been anything.
Yeah.
yeah, there were so many inconsistencies in the story for me. The 2013 version just did not do it for me.
Mm-mm.
It really didn't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, between the two, obviously I'm biased because I like the original, but I will say the new one, it was nice to see. It was nice to see, and I'm not a horror. I don't watch a lot of horror movies anymore. I kind of, I did that, been there, done that kind of thing. So I've kind of shifted from that. So I don't watch as many horror movies. So now that we're kind of revisiting these, it's kind of, you notice things more. And I thought the special effects were amazing. Like I mean, and I don't watch a lot, so maybe this is the norm now. I don't know. I think probably it might be more modern day horror movie that I've seen, but I don't watch a lot of horror movies anymore. So
Yeah.
this, I'm like, some of the scenes, like when the girl cuts her jaw off in the saw or in the shower, I'm like, holy,
That was
like
funny.
this is yeah, like I'm watching all these visuals and I'm like, man, their visuals are amazing. How they could do this stuff, like just when you compare it to the original one, right? When you look at like when I saw the stuff like decaying, and I'm just like laughing because I'm like, okay, well that's the best they could do back then, right? And
Yeah,
then you watch some of the stuff going on now, man, and she's like, just like the little stuff, like when she's stabbing him with the needle. I mean, like she gets him in the eye, like
Oh,
close
I
to the
like
eye.
how you did it all gently. No, that was
Yeah,
violent. That was
yeah. I'm
yeah,
like, holy cow, man, and just like the little stuff that he smashes her head in with the sink, but you actually see the head kind of smashed, and it's like, whoa, man, this is like pretty dark stuff. The tree
yeah.
scene, the reimagined tree scene was obviously, I mean, more scarier. I mean, and
I
you
just like her
saw,
scream. Yeah.
yeah, but what you saw, what was interesting in the first one, I don't think or in the first Evil, the 83, they don't show what the tree does. It just shows that it, like, kind of rapes her, but that's it. You just see like just tree limbs kind of grabbing her. I don't think anything comes off the tree and goes in her, or doesn't like come
Well,
out
it
like in
it
the
was
second.
It
supposed to look like
smears.
it went in it. It looked
Yeah,
like it jabbed her. I was just
Yeah.
like,
and then
whoa.
the scene goes away.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But in the 2013 one, like like almost like an alien thing comes out, right? And it
yeah,
goes in her, and it's like, whoa, okay, what's going on in there, right? Like I'm thinking like alien. So clearly she's possessed,
right. She gets
right?
more impregnated in
Yeah,
2013, where in 83, Cheryl is kind of raped.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
Okay. So overall, I guess for like for the remake or reboot or however we call it,
the
Prequel.
reboot sequel.
the other one.
yeah,
The reboot sequel.
Right. My whole what's the synopsis of it, or what I got out of it was, okay, because it was drug rehab, or she was just trying to get sober. Okay. I was like, it rained so much. And I was like, okay. So I was like, so the water is trying to represent her trying to get clean, you
Hmm.
know? And then and then she starts seeing, like when she saw the reflection of herself in the bed, in the bedroom, in the mirror, she's starting to see all the ugly and what the damage has done to her, right? And she's trying to keep that undercover. But the rain's still coming and the rain's still coming. But by the time the rain stops, she's already transitioning.
Hmm,
And then she gets
okay.
into the shower, and when it gets so hot, it starts peeling off her skin. So I'm all like, now it's all going to show on the outside. Whatever she was holding inside is now going to reflect on the outside, right? And then once that was over and she fought, of which I don't understand why she fought this thing, The blood that came and showered on her was like the cleansing. You know, you had to shed all that extra for you to see the light because it was all dark throughout the whole movie until the end and the rain stopped and she beat the demon, which is supposedly the drug use, and walked away. Sole survivor.
Okay. Oh, interesting. I like that. Yeah, the correlation between the environment and her going through rehab. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. It was a good mix, I think, in that regard. They definitely sold us on the 2013 movie on the gore factor. You know, well, at least for me.
I was like, well, okay.
So,
I think it was because they remind me too much of have you seen Exorcist 3?
um,
Have you
I
seen any of the Exorcists?
oh yeah. I've
So,
seen.
they just reminded me of like Regan, you know, being possessed. That's what they looked like to me. And then that
Oh,
one
okay.
scene when it was highlighting her eyes made me think about Damien when he's in the cell and then the light kind of shines on his eye the same way. I was like, is this the same scene? So
Oh, okay.
yeah. I
Well,
mean,
I haven't watched Exorcist in a long time, so I'd have to revisit that. But um, yeah. Okay.
For me, that's one of the things that I disliked about 2013 was the cliches.
oh my God.
Like you were saying, the fact that the movie is referencing her, the rain, the cleansing, she looks in the mirror, the ugliness, the drug, the drug use, as she removes people from her life. It gets a little darker. The scene does get a little darker, and then she apparently vanquishes this demon, or then her personal demon, which is the drug, which is the drugs. But then past the credits, it's one of those Marvel things where there's that end clip, and you see her get picked up, and they say, "We're going to take you to a hospital, hon." And it's that snap to moment. She looks at the camera, and it's like, "Oh yeah, this isn't over because you're still a crackhead." Like,
there's more.
Now we're going to take you to the city where you have access to drugs, and she's going to go right back to it. So she went right back into the darkness. The evil followed her out of the woods. It's not over. It was too many cliches. She went at the end when she jumps into the Jeep, right? It's raining blood. The female version of the demon version of Maya is chasing her.
Right.
She jumps into the Jeep, and the camera follows her. She jumps into the Jeep, camera follows keys in the ignition, keys drop to the floor, camera follows hand to the floor to pick up keys, come back up to put the ignition, and voila, there's somebody standing at the window. Like, come on, like how many times have been done? The cliches were there were so many. It was just, for me, 2013 was nothing more than a collection of gory cliche moments. There was nothing surprising about it. It left nothing to the imagination. It brought nothing new to the table. It didn't present anything for the film industry. It was just a gory,
bloody thing,
gory, bloody movie filled with cliche moments, and I'm good.
Yeah. I would agree with that, but at the same time, I mean, I guess you gotta expect, if you go into a movie, well, I shouldn't say it. Let me word it like this. So I think going into this movie, I had zero expectations of it changing my views on the horror industry, or of a storytelling. None of that. I went into it knowing that, because quite often, unfortunately, and there's not too many horror franchises that have a compelling, well, at least in my opinion, they don't resonate outside of being, you'll know what I mean when I say like a hacker slash movie, right? Like
Mhm.
there's a guy or a girl killing people, and that's pretty much what you expect, right? Kind of like the action movie cliche, right? That every action movie is, you see a lot of explosions, guns, knives, a lot of people die, and yeah, and that's about it.
Same story, different characters.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're not. I mean, even if it has a good story, which can happen, you're just there to see it. It's more built for visual. So when I went into this, I was trying to pull the story out of it, which is one of the reasons why I called out the reason why they were there. I was like, I thought that they did that well. It was like
Yeah.
they gave you a reason to stay there because it reminded me of that. You remember that Progressive commercial where they do the horror scene and everyone's like running and they're like, what do we do? It's like, why don't we get in that running car? And it's just like, what are you crazy? Like, let's go back to the garage
Or go
behind.
to the garage where all the weapons are. Yeah, let's
Run through the dark cemetery.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of what I was like, all right, well, that's kind of what I expected. So I didn't look deeper into it, but I thought the visuals, I mean, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, like I said, I don't watch a lot of, I haven't watched a lot of modern day horror movies, but I was amazed at just the way the visuals were, seeing the difference from the 83 Evil Dead to the 2013. Like, I thought that was done well, right?
So low budget to high budget.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I get it. I get it. You only have so much to work with. I get it. But at the
No,
same,
they weren't expecting that movie to go anywhere.
yeah, exactly.
It was
Yeah.
just like, let's make a movie, and it became a cult classic. But I want to go back to what you said. You said we knew exactly what was going on, because I don't know how far I got into the movie before the heck is her name? Maya? No.
Maya,
Don't
main
no, what's
character?
the No, the nurse. Who was the nurse? What was her name?
Olivia.
Olivia.
Olivia,
I'm
by the
sorry.
time David
Real
comes
quick.
out and
Real quick, we're down to 2 minutes. Just so.
okay. So Olivia comes out and she's just telling David about, Maya and her problems. And I'm like, that's when we actually find out why they're there. And it took
Yeah.
a while to get to that. But in the other one, it was like we knew that they were a couple, we knew that they were friends, and it's like,
Yep.
and they were always
Yeah.
together, and it was like it progressed, but everybody got separated.
Yeah, no, yeah, good point. Very good point. Yeah, for a while I didn't know why they were there. That drug rehab thing came up right when I was like, okay, I don't understand what's going on. So I agree with you there. I agree. But then it made sense. As soon as he said, oh, and she's holding out the bag, and I'm like, oh, she's a drug addict. Okay, I guess that makes sense then. Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
But
I
I didn't
can't.
realize the brother was estranged, which I thought was an interesting twist. It was like, that was a pretty good thing to do though, because then who does he believe? Does he believe his old friends? Does he believe his sister? He's so detached and removed from the situation, and if his sister's freaking out, he's like, well,
But
Yeah.
he was getting ready to leave. He didn't want to be there. He was like,
Right.
yeah, well, maybe I'll help you.
Okay, so oh man, we're down to a minute left.
You want to meet up in the group?
Yeah, go to Messenger.
Yeah, we go to Facebook Messenger.
Mhm.
We don't.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
So you're gonna create a group and send the invite then?
Yeah, I'm gonna create a chat room real quick. Or we can jump on Facebook. You go on to the Facebook page, go into the group room, and join the video.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Go into the group room. On Facebook. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll meet there then. Let's see.
Okay.
Facebook.
Tuesday, see you there.
All right, see you there.
All
All
right.
right.
Oh, okay.